Folks, I'd ask you to mute your mic if you're not asking a question or speaking. There'll be opportunities for questions shortly. We're just waiting on one person from the Alliance for Change, the leader, and then I'll commence. Thank you.
I think I'm here, David. You're not hearing me?
Yes, Kamraj, I'm now hearing and seeing. Thank you very much.
And I'm looking good, am I not?
We're live, Kamraj. So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm David Patterson, the General Secretary of the Alliance for Change, and I'd like to welcome you to this Alliance for Change press briefing. We will have two statements at the moment. Should one of our other members join us, we will allow her to make her statement. We'll have a statement first from the leader, Kamraj Rampratan. His statement will be on crime and security, COVID-19. I will make a statement on the Public Procurement Commission. We have another member who is not with us at the moment, who will make a statement on the Local Government Commission. At the end of the statement, you'll be invited to ask questions. The usual protocols should be observed, in the sense you state your news organization and then your question. I will identify the persons as they raise their hand or indicate they would like to ask questions. And finally, as a matter of housekeeping, can you all mute your mics during the statement or during questions, and obviously unmute them when you have an opportunity to ask your question or make a statement. Kamraj, over to you for your statement.
Thanks very much, David. Hope you're hearing me loud and clearly.
Yes, we are. I am.
I will do one on crime situation here. Firstly, the AFC finds the current upsurge in crimes across the country, ranging from petty theft to domestic violence to execution-type murder, as extremely worrying. What is even more stressful in this COVID time is the large number of non-apprehension of the offenders. This steep crime wave will only further dent the promised economic recovery of the PPP and crack further the security architecture which was incrementally being constructed by the previous APNU AFC administration. The AFC appreciates the heroic efforts of the large majority of officers and junior ranks in the Guyana Police Force. Somehow, these are being overshadowed by the greedy and unprofessional within. These rogue elements must condignly be dealt with. The AFC is aware that there has been, on the part of the PPP government, a retrogression and complete disinterest in implementing a number of the recommendations which emerged out of the British Security Sector Reform Report and the follow-up consultancies. The attitude of the PPP prior to 2015 was to stay clear from such reform as the British had suggested. Now that the study is completed and is depending on implementation to bring it to fruition, that unwilling attitude remains. The AFC calls on the government to give account on how far it intends to take these recommendations of Russell Coombe and the other expert consultants forward. That's the one on the crime situation. I think I'll have to read one on behalf of Beverly concerning COVID. And let me do that right now because she's having some difficulties coming on. AFC concerned about increasing number of COVID cases and emerging strains. The Alliance for Change is concerned that enough is not being done to tackle the COVID-19 and its evolving strains. Over the past few months, new variants of COVID-19 have been found in the UK, South Africa, and in Brazil, as close as Manaus, that seem to be more deadly, taking a heavier toll on humanity. Other countries are also being affected, a clear indication that globally, we are not on top of this pandemic. While we sympathize with our neighbor Brazil, we need to take every precaution to isolate ourselves from this new P1 variant. It is devastating our neighboring country and could do the same here. The AFC calls for the sealing off and robust monitoring of our borders that is not limited to the official points of entry, and the monitoring of the road arteries connected to the hinterland with Linden and the coastland. We must take every measure to protect our people. Our citizens also must play their part. Sadly, some of our citizens are not adhering to the COVID-19 guidelines. Observe the lack of social distancing in many places. We note especially that during the first week of each month, pensioners flock post offices across the country, and they can be seen sitting almost shoulder to shoulder. While we understand the need of the pensioners to collect their monthly old age pension, we strongly recommend that the Ministry of Social Protection revert to a staggered distribution system, similar to what was implemented under the coalition government. This is where old age pensioners are paid out on an alphabet-based system. This would reduce crowding at post offices and minimize opportunity for the spread of the virus. Further, we have observed many persons not wearing masks and a number not seemingly confident about taking vaccines which are available. The AFC urges that wearing the mask and getting vaccinated are integral in this fight against the virus. The AFC supports all sensible measures to stop the COVID pandemic, including supplementary budgetary provisions. We believe the Guyana Police Force should be more involved in enforcing the guidelines, including inspecting public transportation to ensure all passengers are wearing their masks properly, stopping persons in the street who do not have on a mask, and after curfew patrols of bars, restaurants, and nightclubs. While the administration has a significant role to play in reversing the pandemic, the AFC wishes to remind citizens that we all have a primary responsibility to ourselves to take care and protect our health. Our human resource is our most precious resource. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kemraj, and I'll now read a statement on the Public Procurement Commission. At the last PAC meeting held on April the 12th, 2021, the PAC unanimously agreed to move forward in seeking applications for suitable candidates to fill the vacant positions of the Public Procurement Commission. The Public Procurement Commission was established under Article 212(10) of the Constitution, which reads as follows. The Public Procurement Commission shall consist of 5 members who shall have expertise and experience in procurement, legal, financial, and administrative matters. The President shall appoint the members of the Commission after such members have been nominated by the Public Accounts Committee and approved by not less than 2/3 of the elected members of the National Assembly. The first commission was established in 2016. However, the life of this commission expired in October of 2020. The Public Accounts Committee agreed unanimously that letters will be written to the individual political parties in the Parliament, inviting them to submit nominees to the PPC directly to the Public Accounts Committee. As such, letters were dispatched yesterday to the General Secretaries of the PPPC, APNU, AFC, LJP, TNM, and ANU. Additionally, commencing tomorrow, public advertisements will be placed on radio, television, the print media, and the parliamentary website, inviting the general public, private agencies, and NGOs and other such institutions to submit names of suitable candidates to the Public Procurement Commission. The Public Accounts Committee has set May the 17th, 2021 as the date for the return of all applicants, after which applications will be considered and recommendations forwarded, and recommendations will be forwarded to the National Assembly for ratification. The AFC is committed to ensuring that this important constitutional commission is fully established in the shortest possible time. Thank you. I do not see Ms. Nicole Trotman on as yet, so whenever she comes, I'd ask you to give her the opportunity to make her statement. Those are the two opening statements that are to be made. So until Ms. Trotman comes in, I could invite questions. Please, of course, you could either ask them orally or you can type it, but please, of course, state the organization which you represent and to whom you're directing the question. The floor is now open.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Patterson, but I'm seeing some comments that the audio is very low. So I don't know if our technical person listening would be able to improve that audio for us.
Thank you. The technical team, can you tell us if that's possible? I'm hearing quite well, but
We are going to try to adjust at our end. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, the floor is open at the moment for anyone that wants to ask any question.
Patterson, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Name?
Adam Harris. I heard the opening statement, but before I go on, I would like to find out what is the situation with the Public Accounts Committee and the chairmanship.
Very, very good, Adam. Thank you. I think that's addressed to me. At our last meeting on the April the 12th, the first item on the agenda was a way forward. The way forward, and of course, as you know, it's public knowledge, we would have requested from a lawyer a statement or an opinion, a legal opinion on one particular matter, and that opinion would have aided us in moving forward. As such, the clerk of the National Assembly was directed on behalf of the PAC to write the lawyer to inquire this question. And I think before, but I will put it, I'll read the question that was asked. I'm reading from the letter of the clerk to the lawyer. I shall be grateful to be advised whether Standing Order 954 overrides Standing Order 8222, whereby a member who is not a member of the main opposition in the Assembly, in the absence of the chairperson, can be elected chairperson to the Public Accounts Committee for the day of his or her election. The background to this question, as you know, Adam, is the motion moved against the chairman of the PAC. And obviously, and the chairman of the PAC was incidentally myself, would have recused himself from hearing or anything the matter, of course, as it is requested by the government and its parliamentary norma, and that you don't actually listen to or you don't preside over cases which you are the subject of. Obviously, and what has happened is that the Standing Order required that a member of the main opposition chair the PAC, and all other members of the opposition declined to accept the chair. So therefore, on three previous occasions, the PAC had to be aborted. The meeting had to be aborted because there's no chairman. Obviously, I would recuse myself. The motion was not put nor discussed because obviously you need a chairman to put or discuss it. Having received the advice, I think it was widely circulated. Incidentally, the media received the advice even before the chairman, but I assume that's the way things are done. And having received the advice, the lawyer answered very specifically that question asked by the clerk, and he stated quite clearly, and I think I can read it here, but the opinion has been widely circulated, Adam. I think you have a copy of it, so I won't read the exact part, but in his response number 54, he clearly says that the Standing Order 95-4 does not override standing order. That was all that was asked of him. Unfortunately, the lawyer went on to make other statements outside of what was asked for by the PSC. The PSC inquired how come he was empowered to make statements outside of the direct question asked to him. He made statements in his opinion, that the main opposition is stymieing the work of the PSC and those things like that. Those were never asked of him. He went on to venture some recommendations. So all in all, what happened? The PSC was, as chairman, we were forced to make a decision in the sense that we could not adopt the entire report because the report went outside the scope of what the PSC had asked for. We had an option, and obviously that would not have been fair to everybody and that would have caused additional confusion if you only adopted the parts of the report which you may have considered, which we may have considered to be a direct response to the question which PSC asked. A simple question: can one standing order override the other? Not having conclusions, we did not adopt the report from the lawyer, so therefore there was no way forward agreed or voted upon or unanimously upon. Additionally, via member Jarita Finance, I sought some clarifications via member Jarita Finance, who contacted Comrade Ramchatan and on the decision, on the response from the lawyer, and asked him to provide some legal guidance on the response from the lawyer, which he did, which was posted to the PSC. All in all, at the end, obviously the report was struck out, the response was struck out. There was no way forward. The next item on the agenda was a no confidence motion, and obviously having no way forward, the motion was not allowed, because obviously, and I think it was agreement, because if the motion allowed, if we even started discussing it, we would have ended back exactly where we were the 3 previous occasions. So what was done is we moved on. It was disapproved, and we moved on to item 3 on the agenda, which is the administrative matters, the minutes, the Public Procurement Commission, the audit office, and those things like that. I must say that moving on from items 3 onwards, as I mentioned, we had full participation, participation from both the opposition as well as the government side on those matters. And we're slated to meet again next Monday for continuation examination of the agencies. I hope that clarifies for you, Adam.
It does.
And if, I don't know if Kamraj wanted to elaborate on any particular thing, or that was sufficient.
I just want to elaborate on the very important issue that what obviously the chairman, David Patterson, did, and it seemingly is not being understood by Gail and especially Bishop Edgehill, is to disqualify, and that is why disqualify the motion. There is no precedent anywhere in the Commonwealth for a no confidence motion against a chairperson who is appointed by the main opposition. 2/3 of the Commonwealth have this happening, where the opposition or the main opposition appoints the chairperson of the Public Accounts Committee. And where we have also had no confidence motion, those have been provided by the law, whether it's in the standing orders or in the Constitution, like Article 106(6) that provided for a no confidence motion in our National Assembly. No confidence motion against the chairperson of this very special, singularly special status committee, the PAC, there is nothing in any law. What the law says is that 82.2 is so important that it must come from there. So any motion that is brought to knock off 82.2 in a sense, or to knock off the application of 82.2 will necessarily mean that it should be disqualified. And the chairman has an overriding power under our manual and our standing orders to do that, just like the speaker can do that, and so on. And a kind of a succinct legal advice by me was done to that effect. And even so, even if they pass the no confidence motion in the PSC, in these circumstances, it is non-binding. So you're just wasting your time. And that is basically what was advised by me. And it is important that these rules in committees be understood. And they are all in a manual that we had prepared. Myself, Gail Teixeira, and Mansour Nadir, Speaker of the Parliament, were there when we provided these rules and ensure that we elaborated on the meaning of the standing orders. So I don't know what they're getting on with. So I'm happy that the chairman has disqualified it, and that's the end of the matter. The other point that should be made here, Adam, is that under the core functions of the PAC, it states that this is what you must deal with in that committee. Examine the Auditor General's reports, talk about and discuss and scrutinize government spending. That is what you do. You do not go there trying to stall the process by knocking off the chairman. They're the ones who are stalling the process, as I have argued in my advice. So if for any reason anybody would like to have the arguments, I can circulate that.
Thank you very much, Adam. I think that answers your question. We have a.
It does.
Yes. So we have a question. I have a question from Mani Chanagayana Time directed to you, Kemraj, on COVID-19. Is the party doing anything to encourage their supporters to take the COVID-19 vaccines and adhering to the measures in place? It's directed to you, Kemraj.
Oh yes, certainly. We have taken it very far away. The party wants everybody to be vaccinated. I have been vaccinated. A number of our leading members, I understand, have been vaccinated. And only last night, Sherrod Duncan did something in the ring with Dr. Somar, Dr. Harris, and Dr. Cummings in relation to this matter. And we are urging everybody, and that is the nature of my statement there, stating that we are urging people to get vaccinated, to wear their mask, and also that the police ensure that there is enforcement. We see a lot of the curfews being broken, especially by business associates of the PPP. That is where this thing can happen. And we are also asking that at the border there, that the government close it or, so tightly monitor it that only the circumstances of necessity prevail to let people in or goods in and things like that. So we are doing our bit all across the social media and AFC. We are urging people to take the vaccine, wear masks, social distance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I see Nicholas is on. After I asked the question from Ms. Answer, Ms. Marcus from Stabrook News, the question goes, is the party expecting local government elections to be held this year? If held, will you be participating? And I will answer on behalf of the party. We supported the passage of GCOM budget, even though we queried on several matters. The GCOM budget, we queried if provisions was made for house registration. Unfortunately, none was. We queried the budget for the local government election, which is constitutionally due this year. GCOM has reported they're printing 500,000 ballots. They're budgeting to print 500,000 ballots for local government elections this year. We as a party queried why so many, since seeing the last local government elections, less than 250 persons voted countrywide. We inquired of GCOM at that stage if having double the amount of ballots and voters, if that doesn't open the possibility to for, of course, fraudulent activities. However, we, in the end, supported the budget because local government elections are the passage of that sum for that constitutional agency, because local government elections are statutorily due, constitutionally due this year. So obviously, once the local government elections come, we will start participating. So we are looking eagerly and waiting eagerly on the from Nicola, do you want to make a statement now or at a later stage?
David, can you give me 2 minutes, please?
No problem at all.
Thank you.
I have Sean News, Talk Radio. He would like to ask a question. Sean News.
Good morning, everyone. Are you hearing me clear?
Clear, loud and clear.
Good. 2 questions.
Nicola, can you mute your mic until you're ready? Yes, Sean.
Yes, 2 questions. I'm seeking a clarification and then a question with it.
One second, Sean. Nicola, can you mute your mic, please, until you're ready? Yeah, proceed, Sean.
Yes, Mr. Ramjatan, could you say that if I'm seeking a clarification that the PAC could request from the government to examine finances for the COVID relief that was given out, since that was an emergency payout to citizens. And if that is possible, if the PAC intends to request to see that auditor to examine those finances for the COVID relief fund that was given out. And secondly, now that we are aware that 500,000 ballots are to be printed for local government elections, what kind of scrutiny is the party preparing to employ to ensure that there isn't any instances of misdemeanors or fraud or whatever you might say, or to really delegitimize the process of local government elections? Those are my
Okay, I want to indicate that the first question will have to be supported by David Patterson also in the answers. I certainly would like to see evaluation audits done, and I've asked members of the main opposition who are in the PAC to ensure that that be done. Now, namely, an evaluation audit on the tractors that were bought by Gaisuco for almost $72 million each, and also the distribution of the COVID $25,000. We believe that they got a lot of corruption in these 2 areas. And I rather suspect that is why the PPP is trying to stall the process here of talking about chairman, no confidence in chairman and all. The strongest member that the main opposition has there, and with the experience and the fact of his professional background dealing with these numbers, is of course David. So indeed, we would like to see evaluation audits. And the only person that can do that, or the only committee, is the PAC through its chairperson for purposes of doing these evaluation audits by the Auditor General. David, you could help me out there. In relation to also the ballots, how we can scrutinize that nothing untoward happens or anything fraudulent. Well, we have our commissioners there, the 3 commissioners in the GCOM, who obviously going to ask us for any help that we would need. And they also have to scrutinize the process very thoroughly, ensuring that they go to when these ballots are going to be printed, right down to the time they're taken to come, the watermarks that must be on the ballots, and all of that. But right now we are questioning and scrutinizing why 500,000. Local government elections are not as big as national elections. And we know that the lots of places do not have local government elections, Amerindian areas and so on.
So it is important that we treat with some amount of skepticism this big number. But we are going to ask our commissioners, and we are going to do whatever it takes really to ensure that these are done thoroughly. That is the printing of the ballots, and that will be done. It is generally done via our commissioners at the Elections Commission. David, if you had anything there to me?
Right. Thank you very much. And of course, on the question, Sean News, I'm on record as saying that I would like a value for money as well as audit on the COVID relief. It's not just a question of checking where the money is going. It's a question of having an audit of the system used to distribute the money. Because you know that we have several complaints countrywide, every region, that certain areas have been bypassed. Certain persons were given pink slips while certain other persons weren't. In some communities, all you have to do is show that you live there. In other communities, you have to bring your birth certificate as well as your transport and those things like that to be able to collect the relief fund. So they've had different measures per community. And obviously, the Public Accounts Committee via the Audit Office, I think, is the agency who should do a audit, not only a financial audit, because financial audit will come anyway without at the Auditor General's report to the end of October 2021 for 2020. However, there's a value for money and a managerial audit that can be done now. And it's not just to see, it's also to strengthen, because I see today that they're trying to consider a second round of COVID relief funding sometime during the course of this year. I saw it in the newspaper. So it's important that we have an audit to see what was done to ensure that any mistakes, if there were any, or any acts of discriminatory acts that were done, are erased, so we have an open and transparent process going forward. As to do with the local government elections, I just want to remind, I meant 250,000 persons that would have voted in 2018. It's 500,000 ballots. I mean, that 500,000 is more persons that would have voted in our last 2020 election. So you already have more ballots being printed than persons that voted in our national and regional election in 2020. And everybody knows that our local government election only affects about 70% of our population. So you can see the question. And we were asking at the budget, why is there no monies for a new house-to-house registration, so that we can get that bloated list down to what it was, because it has caused a lot of issues in the last general and regional election. And we thought GCOM would have been making preparations, because all the reports, every single independent observer report said that the list is an issue. So we thought that, as well as planning for local government elections, GCOM should have been also executing, can also execute a house-to-house registration, even if it may mean deferring for a month or two the local government elections. I think Nicola, you should be ready now. I'd ask Nicola to make her statement, and then I'd ask News Talk Radio Guyana 103 to ask to follow up on local government elections. Nicola, you can make your statement now.
Hi, David. Yes, I can, but my camera on my phone is not working. Can I do it?
Please proceed.
Proceed? Okay, thank you. I am deeply honored to be afforded the opportunity to serve my country and my fellow Guyanese in this most important capacity as Commissioner of the Local Government Commission. I've had a lifelong passion for serving in the community and wider society. And this appointment, I believe, will allow me to make a small contribution towards the advancement of democracy and good governance of our country. The Local Government Commission is empowered to deal with all matters relating to the regulation and staffing of local government organs, including employment and dismissal of staff, and with dispute resolution within and between local government organs. It is also, among other things, empowered to monitor and review the performances and implementation of policies and of all local government organs, including policies of taxation and protection of the environment. I wish to assure the public that I will be sincere and steadfast in the execution of my functions as a commissioner, and shall at all times put the interests of the people of Guyana first and operate only within the confines of the Local Government Commission Act. Finally, I wish to thank the executives and members of the Alliance for Change and the APNU AFC Coalition who have reposed confidence in me to serve in this capacity. I am ready and eager to get to work to improve local government in our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicola, and I'm sure you do an excellent job. I'd ask you just mute your mic and stay connected if anybody has any questions for you. News Talk Show, Guyana Radio, you want a follow-up question on the local government, you can ask it.
Mr. Patterson, good morning to you. Dennis Shabro, Damara Waves News Talk Radio. Sir, could you say why your party has decided to contest the local government elections if and when it is held without house registration?
We have not said that. We have said, listen, local government elections are constitutionally due. We've asked and we've implored, and I think we're holding out for house registration. We've asked GCOM, of course, there's no monies budgeted this year, according to GCOM, so far for house registration. And obviously, what our preference would be house registration and clean lists, and then have any elections, because you know that the question of the list is the underlying cause of all the issues there. Obviously, we're waiting to see what GCOM's response are, because of course, as Cameron said, and as I've said before, we are very, very concerned about the size of the voters list and the preparations in which they are making. 500,000 votes leave a lot of opportunity for persons or individuals and groups to do things that are not required or not meant to happen during elections.
But earlier you did say in the press conference that you'll participate.
Obviously, but we are asking for house registration. I stated that up front.
If you don't get it, what will you do?
That's a decision that we will make. But obviously, we do think that the entire country is asking for house registration. So I don't think it's a question of if. I think it's when. Mark Benchcop.
Yes, good afternoon, guys. Thanks, Mr. Patterson. Are you hearing me loud and clear?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Yes.
I am.
All right. Are you guys in the coalition concerned that the PPPC regime seem to be dilly-dallying and making hypocritical statements as it pertains to the elections? First, we heard during the course of the elections, the counting of the ballots, the PPP were concerned and they were making it clear that they want everything to be done via an elections petition. Now we have the elections petitions cases in the High Court and now in the Appellate's Court. The PPP obviously doesn't want the elections petition to be heard. Recently, we heard Mr. Irfan Ali stating that he wants a commission of inquiry. How concerned are you that the PPP seem to be attempting to brainwash the populace and also dilly-dallying on the issue of revealing to the Guyanese people the true nature of the elections and the outcome of the elections, which we can see through the elections petition, and the PPP obviously doesn't want that. How do you guys feel about their position?
Kamraj, I give you the first option.
Yeah, thanks very much, David, for allowing me. Mark, thanks for your question. We feel that the elections petitions by an independent body called the judicial arm is sufficient to deal with all the matters that happened and to scrutinize all the issues that confront it. And a ruling thereon will be sufficient. Of course, that ruling we can carry right up to the CCJ, and that CCJ then becomes final and certain. The PPP, it is obvious, doesn't want that, especially
the ones that dealt with all the irregularities and illegalities and non-resident that voted and all the wickedness on the factual side of it. They don't even want to deal with this one, dealing with the legal side. In any event, the president has certain powers under the Commission of Inquiries Act, but the status of an elections petition is far superior because it is your judicial arm that will scrutinize the last elections. And that is where potency and compellingness and the cogency is going to come from, rather than the appointees of a president. And knowing the PPP and its president, they will of course order somebody, people to do the Commission of Inquiry, and it will not have that intrinsic independence about it. And so it is going to be a waste of time. I am certain that we might not very well deal with any of those, accept any of the findings and recommendations that Commission of Inquiry will come up with. The one that the law provides for is our High Court and right up to our CCJ. And noticing the PPP lawyers also arguing that you can't even leave the CCJ, the High Court. You can't carry the matter up to the Court of Appeal and the CCJ. Well, that is abominable. And that shows what is under their skirt. It is very ugly, and it is not the right approach. The right approach is going to court. But of course, he being president, installed or not, the trouble is he can order a Commission of Inquiry. And of course, that will cost a lot of money, and we certainly will not appreciate it. We would prefer the court, an independent arm, right up to the CCJ, dealing with the matter.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mark, you have a follow-up?
Yes, I have another question as it pertains to what we heard almost 3 months now, maybe going on 4 months, that the PPP regime has actually put forward the name of Mr. Sam Hines to be Guyana's U.S. ambassador, Guyana's ambassador to the U.S. It's almost 4 months now and no confirmation. Are you guys concerned that it has been that long and Mr. Sam Hines has not yet been confirmed by the U.S.? My other question is, I know you've dealt with the COVID-19 pandemic situation in Guyana, and when they got into office, of course, you know, they got into office as of August 1st, they condemned the coalition's approach in dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. But we are seeing today, 7 months after, 7+ months after, that the coalition was on the right track as it pertains to handling the COVID-19 pandemic with the specialty hospital and all these different things. Are you guys concerned that looking at the 3-4 deaths per day and the fact that the regime is not serious in handling this situation? Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. I think Kamraj, the question of the confirmation.
Well, let me answer, Mark, there. Sam Hines' confirmation as ambassador to America. I understand that there is a lot of fights within the PPP as to who should be there right now. There's many factions of the party, and then of course, the minister himself, Mr. Todd, I understand they have certain people that they have identified. And because of this tug of war between the various factions, the confirmation has not been done as yet. You will have that in any administration, I would suppose, but it does reveal the internal wranglings in relation to that confirmation. We are concerned about it because we will have a representative that is going to come the truth about what is happening in Guyana so that the relevant authorities in America will know. I, quite frankly, do not have a major problem with Mr. Sam Hines, but that is a matter for the executive branch, the president and his Minister of Foreign Affairs to deal with. And I think they probably want to change Sam Hines now to somebody else especially I think a business community member who had, done a number of things in the last elections there and is now asking for his reward. In relation to the, what was the other one?
COVID-19 deaths.
Yes, right. That is clear. The coalition government and its COVID-19 committee, although it was an extremely challenging period, and the fact that we didn't have any experience about these things, did quite clearly a number of things that were right and correct in the sense of with the resources that we had. We had to get a hospital. Where do we get the hospital from? And you need it immediately. That building there, we had to take and of course compensate the owners or whosoever else the court had ordered as the owners. And we did that. We also had done what is called a 4 E's, engage, educate, and there was another E, and then enforce, finally, last resort, and do curfews in a number of areas, lock down certain regions and all of that. That is what we'll have to do now. And I rather again suspect that this is what is being asked of the president by a certain faction, especially the health ministry faction, telling them this is what we got to do. But of course, the business community, there's a controlling interest, it seems, of the PPP now coming from the business side of things. They want their rewards for what they did and so on in relation to the elections. And that is going to cause problems in relation to these matters. Business places and so on are not being curfewed at the appropriate time. They're being allowed to do their gambling and a whole set of drinking and all kinds of things. So it is important then that we take the kudos of what we did and ask that the current administration take a cue from that to pursue this thing so that we can have a curve rather than the very steep one we have right now.
Thank you very much, Comrade Joe. If anyone the news entity has any questions or any follow-up? It appears not. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you very much for joining us this morning for our news conference. I want to assure you that we will resume having news conferences, press conferences on a weekly basis. Obviously, we had a bit of a lull between February and now because of the budget, during the budget period, but we will resume. So we will see you either at the same time next Thursday or Friday. You will get advance notice. Thank you very much for being here. Kathy will circulate the written statements to you shortly via the appropriate media. Thank you very much, and please be safe. Goodbye. Bye.